30 years have passed since Gary Player won the 5th of his 7 Australian Open titles here at Royal Sydney Golf Club. Half a lifetime since the little South African conquered a world-class field and a ferocious final day. Player had to survive thunder, lightning and gale force winds. The scoreboard was wrenched from its moorings. At the par 3 17th, he hit driver and 9-iron into 100 km/h headwinds. It was an Open like few others, at a course like few others. In the final Australian Open of the millennium, we returned to Royal Sydney as the club hosts its 11th Open Championship of the century. From its first home at Concord, through a more traditional links setting at Bondi, to its present home at Rose Bay, Royal Sydney has prospered. It was granted its royal charter by Queen Victoria and proved that swampland, deemed unsuitable for housing, was perfect for a world-class golf course. When fire robbed the club of its famous headquarters, it enabled the committee to build the clubhouse that is renowned throughout Australia to this day. Carnegie Clark was club professional here for 27 years and won 2 of his 3 Opens on his home course. In 1911, he would be the host as professional golfers met here to form the Australian PGA. As today's professionals walk the immaculate fairways, they can pay tribute to Clark and to the Trailblazers. They can look back on victories in the Roaring 20s by Charlie Campbell and Fred Popplewell, who had a hole-in-one on the last day of the 1928 Open. The legendary Gene Sarazen, the first man to win all 4 majors, came down to Royal Sydney in 1934. But local hero Bill Bolger beat him by 3 strokes. He vowed to return, came back in 1936 and won the Open at Metropolitan in Melbourne. In Sarazen's footsteps in the decades ahead, other giants of the game would contest this country's national title. Jack Nicklaus labelled the Australian the 5th major and won Down Under 6 times. South African Bobby Locke has his name on the honour roll, as does Arnold Palmer and Tom Watson. Local heroes have figured largely here at Royal Sydney over the years. In the first post-war Open, Ozzie Pickworth won the first of his hat-trick of Australian titles. A decade later, in 1956, Bruce Crampton birdied the final 2 holes to take his first major title, the stepping stone to a marvellous international career. Royal Sydney can appear benign and friendly, as Mark Calcavecchia found in 1988. He produced a string of miraculous golf shots to finish 19 under par. But just as quickly, storms can rip a good round apart. If it isn't storms, then perhaps it might be nerves, as was the case when the Open was last played here in 1994. For Robert Allenby and Brett Ogle, fate lay in their own hands as they virtually self-destructed on the final 9 holes. Allenby dropped 4 shots to the card over the final 3 holes, but still outlasted Ogle, who bogeyed 3 of the last 4. In 1999, we returned to Royal Sydney for the 11th time. There'll be another name added to the honour roll, another winner of this nation's most prestigious golfing event. 7 Sport is proud to take you to the Olympic City, to Royal Sydney, for the 1999 Holden Australian Open.
Hello everyone and welcome once again to this fabulous layout here at Royal Sydney in the heart of Rose Bay in our Olympic City. Well, this is the day we've all been waiting for, the final round of the 1999 Holden Australian Open Championship. This actually is the 11th time that this particular course has hosted our national title. It was won first here back in 1906. Carnegie Clark won the first of his 3 titles here back in that year. Since that time, of course, there have been some memorable winners, perhaps none more so than Greg Norman, who today has the opportunity to win his 6th Australian Open title. Paul Gow shot the lights out on the opening day, a new course record of 64. But then Greg came out and equalled that in his third round to really storm into contention to once again take that Stonehaven Cup. It is a fabulous looking leaders board going into the final round. There's an 18-year-old Victorian by the name of Aaron Badley, who is also set to rewrite the record books. And let's not forget Colin Montgomery, the likeable Scot who's won the European Order of Merit 7 straight times, is just about there to win his first Australian Open. And what about Ireland's hopes? Paul McGinley, no Irishman has ever won the Australian Open. So many players can win it, and of course, in the middle of them, one G. Norman. It's going to be a fabulous day here today. This is the final round of the Holden Australian Open. We hope you can stay with us wherever you may be viewing. Already thousands of fans flocking the fairways. I wouldn't be surprised if we have record crowds today. But before we go into the final round, let's have a look at some of the highlights of the third round.
Yesterday at Royal Sydney, it was the day of the great white shark. Greg Norman fired a scintillating round of 64 and stormed into outright favouritism to take his 6th Holden Australian Open title. His round of 8 under equalled the course record and sent a shudder through the rest of the field.
Looks good. What a finish for Greg Norman.
Norman trails this man by 2 shots. 18-year-old Victorian amateur Aaron Badley shot a 70 yesterday to take the outright lead. A Lillywhite hasn't won the Australian Open since Bruce Devlin in 1960. Make no mistake, this young man can create history.
This looks good. What a finish. What a finish for Aaron Badley.
However, there are many great players breathing down his neck. None more formidable than Scot Colin Montgomery. The man who won his 7th European Order of Merit this year shot a 67 to finish 10 under. 4 others joined Montgomery on 10 under. Irishman Paul McGinley, Kiwi Michael Long, and Australians Paul Gow and Nick O'Hearn. As always, the Open again produced something special.
Just take a look at this. Hello. All in one.
And they have slammed dunk. I don't believe it.
This promises to be one of the great finishes in the history of this championship.
Well, a man who knows what it takes and what it's like to win a national championship, an Australian Open, is with me now. Jack Newton, I'm not being rude, Jack, but it was a while ago, 79. I'm sure you still remember it. Someone is going to have that feeling later today.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of nerves on the first 2 today, particularly for the Australian golfers, because when you're a young bloke growing up, it's the Australian Open that you want to win, probably first and foremost, and then if you allow your mind to run wild, maybe a British Open. So I'm sure even for the players with a lot of experience, there'll be nerves on the first 2 today.
It's a little bit like a United Nations meeting. We've got a young amateur at the top, we've got an Irishman, a Scotsman, we've got Greg Norman, we've got some youngsters, we've got the veterans. Go out on a limb, who do you like? Who's got what it takes to win it?
Well, I'd really like Aaron Badley to win it. I think it'd be fantastic for Australian golf. Bruce Devlin, of course, the last one to do it nearly 40 years ago. I backed Michael Campbell early in the week with a saver on Ogilvy and Spence. I suppose I've got to stick with my money, although the smart heads would probably think Montgomery. He's only missed 2 greens in 54 holes. That's amazing golf. And, of course, Greg. But I think both of those players would have preferred to see a bit of wind out here today because what the conditions are going to do is allow someone from, well, you know, maybe 4 or 5 shots back to shoot a low number, post it, and then leave these other fellas to shoot at it. But there's no wind so far, and I think there's going to be a lot of low scores today if the weather stays like this.
Expecting a top of 21 degrees. We're almost there, and just a very light breeze coming from the east. Well, Jack talked about the odds in this particular golf tournament. There's been plenty of changes as far as the Sydney Sports TAB has been concerned in recent times. Let's catch up with the latest. Here's Pat.
Well, Sandy, as this tournament has ebbed and flowed over the first 3 days, there's been some quite dramatic changes in the betting here at Sydney Sports Tab. Nothing has changed up top, though. Colin Montgomery, the Scot, is now 5-2 favourite coming into the final day. He started out as the 5-1 favourite early in the betting. Greg Norman, though, has firmed dramatic into 11-4, 7-1 Paul McGinley, and 8-1 Aaron Badley. He seems to be a pretty good bet this afternoon. He is leading the tournament. Then we have a host of players, including Michael Campbell, Nick O'Hearn, Michael Long, all at $10. Now, Paul Gow is the one who has firmed dramatically because he started out the tournament at $61, and I think he's placed a couple of small wagers on himself. There's plenty of involvement down here at Sports Tab as the punters try and pick the winner of what is going to be a hotly contested race.
Yes, thank you, Pat, and it's going to be a memorable afternoon here at Royal Sydney. Already some big names out on the course. We'll take a break and be coming back to look at players like Stewart Appleby and Nick Faldo, so stay with us. Welcome back to Royal Sydney, the Goodyear airship. It really is a wonderful sight, this fabulous layout in the heart of Rose Bay in Sydney. And later on today, someone is going to have their name added to the Stonehaven Cup. As we go to the action on the course, this is Lucas Parsons playing with Stewart Appleby, his second shot to the first. We welcome to this final day once again Bruce Critchley. Welcome, Bruce.
Thank you very much, Sandy, and I must say I've thoroughly enjoyed the 3 days so far. The combination of a good course and a testing breeze has made for a very entertaining 3 days and hopefully a fourth.
Greg Norman on the practice fairway has only just arrived. I'm interested, Jack, when you look at these pairings, could it possibly be there are going to be thousands following the likes of Greg Norman? Could it be that a pairing like O'Hearn and Gow, with all due respect to them, just go about their business in their own style, and one of them perhaps could jump out?
Absolutely. I think important that they get a good start, but we'll talk more about that. There's Stewart Appleby's shot to the first. You can see quite an incline up to the green, and the pin today just 18 metres on and 6 from the left-hand side. There's the behind camera shot. Out of the rough, he won't be able to get the spin on it that he would like. Can he stop it? And that's the reason it's run on over the back of the green, but all in all, not a bad result from there.
72, 70, 71 for Stewart Appleby. While on 5, this is Nick Faldo playing with Scott Wern today. The Englishman has had 68, 74 and 73, but has struggled, Bruce.
Yes, he's flattered at times. He's got below par in every round he started, and then he's given it back again. He made a bad start today, though. He took 5 at the first and has been pars thereafter.
This is Craig Parry at the 3rd, hoping to save his par. Craig, too, has had an up-and-down week, 70, 74, 71, going into the final round at 1 under, and dropping a shot there.
A lot thought, Sandy, that he would perhaps follow on from last week, but it's very, very hard to do.
Unless you're someone like Tiger Woods.
Oh, yeah, well, he only plays against himself.
Back to the first, and a birdie putt from Big Lucas, just off the back of the green on the fringe. Looks like he's got the putter, even though he's coming from the, well, I suppose you'd call it light rough. But the question he's got to ask himself here is how much of a deadening effect it will have on his golf ball coming through the fringe and then onto the slicker putting surface. And I'd suggest that's one of the reasons he's misjudged the pace. Never easy to come from a slow to a fast putting surface.
He's not yet achieved what a lot of people thought would happen to him.
Well, what about 1999? That young man is suggesting 2000 is going to be the year of the shark. Greg, I think we'll be thinking of this afternoon. 64 yesterday, and he's right back.
Interesting what Colin Montgomery told Ian Baker Finch, I thought, yesterday, about how he goes to the practice fairway to work on his rhythm, not to practice. And I think pretty much that's what the players will be thinking about this morning. There won't be any major changes made as we now go across to the first green. Stewart Appleby's birdie putt from off the putting surface.
Perhaps what you're seeing there was a reaction to Lucas Parsons' ball skating off across the green. And although the practice green would be very much the same pace as out on the course, until they actually get going, they don't actually really get the judgment of it.
To the fourth, Crown Lager hole, and Craig Parry.
Not a good shot for Craig Parry, because this hole bends to the left, and he shapes his ball left to right, and he's overcooked that into the paper barks off to the right-hand side of the fourth fairway, so that's in trouble for Parry.
Parsons for par at the first. Good save by Lucas. So he remains at 3 under par. Now back to Stewart Appleby, a winner of the Shell Houston Open early this year, runner-up in the Buick Open. Solid year on the US Tour. .64 seems to be the number that everyone's talking about at the moment. That's what Craig Parry finished with when he won the Open in South Australia. Wouldn't he like to trade that today for a final round here to bring him back into contention? Paul Gow has shot 64. Greg Norman has shot 64 in this championship this week. Final pairing, Montgomery and Baddeley out at 1:30, and then the field will be away here at Royal Sydney. Here we are back at Royal Sydney. We're with Nick Faldo, 6 times major winner, playing his second shot to this 5th.
He must be very disappointed, because he came with high hopes, a chat with Norman van Eder, and showed that he had some birdies in there, but just couldn't hang on to it. And it's happened time and again in the last 2 years.
I rather fancy, Bruce, that the southerly buster blew away his chances on Friday afternoon.
Craig Parry's got to be careful. He might get blown away here. In trouble, as we saw on the 4th. This is now his 3rd shot.
Almost a case of being in the hay, Sandy, isn't it?
It's the season. Yep. Normally one of the masters of the short game, but he's found his troubles here on 4.
Bad start too, with 4 at the par 3 at the last hole. So 2 or 3 shots going early on.
Back to him in a moment. Faldo to go into red figures.
That'll come to his left. Up the slope. Dead straight, didn't move, and he scratches his head in wonderment. Had to come right to left, that putt.
Certainly been an interesting week for his caddy, Murray Lott. I guess the question now will be, what does Faldo do, Bruce, about a caddy?
Well, it depends where he's going to play. He may, the intention, I think, is to go back and play a bit more in Europe. He might go back to his old man, John Prodger.
And we'll go back to Craig Parry. That's his 4th now. To the 4th. Par 4, so hopefully just the 1 shot gone for Craig.
Now back to the second shot for Stewart Appleby.
3 wood for Stewart, Jack. Heading straight towards the centre of the green from where we sit. Just drifting away on the breeze a little.
Jeff Flanagan following Stewart Appleby early on in his round. And this is Wayne Riley, another former winner couple under. And looking for a big finish. Playing the third.
He's a couple under at this stage. All trying, and here's Craig Parry. Very difficult here at the 4th of Parry when you've had a bad start and you know it's a benign day. The greens look firm and they perhaps looked at their quickest of all 4 days. And you know that others are going to go racing past you, and you've already gone 2-3 down maybe to the field. So 4-5, 4-6. Had a very good run in around October. I saw he played very well at St Andrews in the Alfred Dunhill Cup. Terrific. Then had a good win also in the World Match Play the following week.
Well, he's moored his boat just in the bay out here, and one would suggest at the moment he probably wouldn't mind getting back on it, because he's got to somehow stop this rot. Disappointing for Craig. Now Lucas Parsons. Fine shot from Big Lucas as we go back to the first, and welcome to our telecast, Nick McArdle.
Ladies and gentlemen, rounds of 69, 70 and 73 at 4 under. He is the current Australian Masters champion from Victoria, Craig Spence.
Well, he's had such a whirlwind couple of weeks. I guess by now he's back to earth and hoping to finish this Open campaign with a big round.
Yeah, a little disappointing yesterday because he was in pretty good position, 69-70 the first 2 days, and then just one of those nothing days yesterday where he had 73. But he's certainly capable of shooting low numbers, as we saw at last week's tour school in the United States. Nothing better to get that underway with a good straight hit off the first. Beautiful looking swing, and a big one from Spence.
Rounds of 67, 77 and yesterday a 68 at 4 under. A former winner of the Australian Open here at Royal Sydney from Victoria, Robert Allenby.
Trouble with the putter, so he sought the advice of Ian Baker Finch. It appeared to work yesterday after a 77, a 68, and maybe a player like this could come out and really stir the pot.
Yeah, well, these two could certainly fire one another up. Good pairing. Looks like he's pulled that left. About 5 yards left.
I was going to say, we'll take it.
And just looking how close they get to that green there, Sandy, one of the real long hitters might get it on the green there.
To 6, Nick Faldo. Likes it by the look of his eagle eye, and certainly vindicated.
Never gives up trying. It's extraordinary, even though he's sort of way down the pack and he's not a shadow of him former self. Here's Wayne Riley. We saw his tee shot at the 3rd. That's the other short hole on the front 9. It's for a 2. .75 on the first day really did for him. 3 over par when others, Gow included, 64.
Well, what an extraordinary putt from Wayne Riley. He might need to lend him my glasses.
From the 91 Open winner to Lucas Parsons. It's 3rd to the 2nd.
That's a testy little pin they've got there at the 2nd today, just 11 metres over that bunker.
Great leaders board, isn't it, going into the final round? The 18-year-old at the top. How's that pressure going to be today and later today? 15, 16, 17 and 18. Boy, is that going to be something to look forward to. He's playing with Colin Montgomery, who's won just about everything but a major. But any one of these players could strike, and they've got all afternoon to do it. And you'll see it only here on 7. This is the final round of the Holden Australian Open Championship from Royal Sydney.
After a shock loss to Billy Bolger in 1934, Gene Sarazen returned 2 years later and won the Open at Melbourne's Metropolitan Course. The first man to win the Big Four titles in golf shot 282 to beat a young amateur named Harry Williams.
This is Nick Faldo attempting to go into red figures. This for a 2 at the 6th. On target, he goes to 1 under.
That was a good stroke he put on that, Sandy. A nice shortish backswing and good acceleration through the ball.
Lucas Parsons.
It's for a birdie at the second hole, and almost probably with the pin where it is got too close into. Couldn't hit the ball hard enough to put some spin on. He's currently making his way in life outside of Australia or he has been on the Challenge Tour in back home. Came 10th there, so got his card for the main tour this coming year.
Yes, that's good news, isn't it? Had a couple of wins. Won the New Zealand Open back in 1995, did Lucas, as we go to Craig Spence. His second to the first.
Yeah, good shot from behind at what he's got to do. Plenty of green to work with. Put it in high, tried to get it to spin.
Certain evidence that these greens are firmer and faster than they have been this week. Back to Appleby at the second.
He picks up a shot. Appleby to 4 under. As we go back to Robert Allenby.
Much the harder of the 2 shots, this one. Coming straight up the length of the green, so less green to play with. Perhaps in a slightly better lie, and maybe get more action on the ball.
Yeah, well, that was a shot that he got a bit too cute with. He knew he had to throw it up in the air and get some spin on it, but overcooked it, just getting over the bunker as Riley tries to get par at 4 after that wayward first putt.
Par 4 radar. We saw Robert Allenby just a few moments ago. That was recorded. Here we are with him now, and this birdie attempt to go 5 under.
Amazing. He knew, and all the top golfers know when it isn't going to get there. You heard him say, get on. And we've seen over these first 3 days the importance of a good start. All good scores are made over these first 6 or 7 holes.
Norman still on the practice fairway. He's got to his driver now. What do you think, Jack, today? A winning score, 14, 15 under?
Yeah, I would have thought about 15, 14, 15, yep. A lot depending on the wind, of course, which will get up about lunchtime, and more importantly, what direction it will come from as Craig Spence attempts his birdie putt.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next player on the first tee, he is the winner of the 98-99 Australian Order of Merit, rounds of 66, 72 and 73 at 5 under from Western Australia, Jared Mosley.
Big winner, of course, in the West, the Heineken Classic.
And a bit like Craig Spence, who he played with yesterday, not much doing, and concluded his day with a round of 73 when I think he needed something a bit better than that, but maybe today.
Push that a bit. And it will depend on the lie. It's a bit fluffy. At least we're coming up the green.
Rounds of 74, 65, 72 at 5 under, the defending Australian Open champion from Western Australia, Greg Chalmers.
2 Sandgropers together might just push each other along.
Yeah, we've talked about that many times before, where two players get playing well and playing together, sort of has a momentous effect, a snowballing effect, if you like. Very good season in the United States.
Wonderful second round of 65 and in position A.
Just another one of these group of young players who are really starting to make their mark and just lack a bit of experience as yet.
Spence for par.
And I think both Spence and Allenby there would think, Sandy, that if they were going to win, they need to go birdie. I think the first hole gives an opportunity.
This is Brendan Jones at the second hole. He's already opened with an eagle. He got a 2 at that first hole, and a chance of, well, this is the start you're talking about, Jack. 2-4 would be very tasty.
Will one of these come out of the pack? Aaron Baddeley and Colin Montgomery playing together off at 130. Paul McGinley is playing with Michael Long. Nick Ahern is playing with Paul Gow. We'll be seeing them on 7 shortly.
Just about to head to finalise your putting. Feeling good for the afternoon?
Yeah, I feel pretty good, Paddy. I'm a bit surprised with the weather. I thought we'd have a little bit more breeze today, but that'll make it a little bit more of an interesting duel today.
Given that this is going to probably yield low scores, it's good that you are 1 or 2 shots, because you thought you could be further away from the lead yesterday, didn't you?
Well, I was surprised, excuse me, to tell you the truth, because there were so many good players up there, and the last 4 or 5 holes were playing straight downwind in lots of ways, and I was surprised to see only 11 under leading.
You said 64 again today would probably win this one for you.
I think it would, actually. Yeah. So we'll have to go see what we can do.
Just one final question. You said it'd be lovely to finish the Millennium with a victory.
Well, any time you win would be great, but obviously this is the last tournament for me for till the turn of the century, so it'd be nice to finish it off that way, but there's a lot of hard golf to be played in between now and then.
Play well this afternoon.
Thanks, Paddy.
Thanks, mate.
From Greg Norman to Jared Moseley, his second to the first. He's 16th in the order of merit this year. A wonderful year for Moseley. That includes 3 top 3 finishes.
That was in Europe.
There's Appleby at the third, first of the short holes. That was for a par. So the shot he gained at the second has gone. And all of these players, as Pat was saying, very mindful of the fact that they're going to have any sort of run to get close to this title. They have to make a good start, and bogey's rather disastrous.
Now Chalmers back at the first.
And the difference there of coming off the fairway as opposed to coming out of the rough, much the better of the 2 approaches.
Brendan Jones.
Started with a 2. This for a birdie. A bit anxious, I think. Tried to wish it in rather than stroke the ball in the hole, pick the line and be positive about it.
Here's Jared Moseley, first to go. He was sharing an apartment with Nick O'Hearn, who's also well up, due to start in half an hour or so throughout the year, base themselves, as so many of them do, in the sort of just southwest of London, close to London Airport.
An opening par then for the West Australian to remain at 5 under. As we move to Nick Faldo, he's playing the 7th, it's par 5, playing his second shot.
Oh, run. That's a beautiful shot from Nick Faldo. Right between the traps. Clear away from the hole, but 2 fine shots, nonetheless.
From Nick Faldo, back to Greg Chalmers. This to go 6 under. Good start for Chalmers, a young man who turned pro back in 1995 and already has had great success. 6 under.
And one of those vital putts to get in early on. We've talked a little bit about it yesterday. They can so easily, what happens over the first 2 or 3 holes sets a tone for the day.
Oh boy, this is a long putt for Faldo. This 7th green is not very deep, but it's extremely wide. Faldo on the back left portion of the green, the pin on the front right. Ball of 25 metres. Big swing from left to right. This for an eagle 3. Nice birdie at the previous hole, where he made a 2 at the 6th. I think he'd be happy to get this near. Oh, that's a magnificent putt from Faldo from long range. And that'll take him into the red numbers today. Only 1 under for the round, 2 under for the championship. He's playing with a young Victorian, Sandy, Scott Wern, who I'm sure will be enjoying the experience of playing with a man who's won 6 majors.
Yeah, he's done pretty well too, Wern. Best round 69 as we go to Brendan Jones. Second shot to the 3rd, coming out of the sand. Still work for him to be done there. Back at the first, Peter Lonard, 73, 66, 70.
I'm just taking a 3 wood and paying the penalty for skewing it.
But yesterday, the day belonged to him. For those of the Slam Dunk Brigade, remember this? I like the delayed reaction here.
The first one's, where did that go? I mean, did it go in the bunker in front of the green?
What he knew. What a moment. 1 of 2 yesterday, David McKenzie. The other one to ace. Now we go to Craig Spence. Eagle opportunity at the par 5 second.
Shows the wind from the south, which, and what there is of it is from there isn't that strong. 502 metres. Got on here in turn with the pin that close to the front. Not a long one. Always all the holes are painted white on the inside, so they show up. They might have missed this one out. Hard to see.
Pretty well a certain birdie. And just on that note, Bruce, if the breeze is not up now, normally you would expect the breeze to come up around about lunchtime on the tide, but not much at all to speak of at the moment, so it may not get up.
Brendan Jones, now this is a big par-saving putt. Got away to a flying start. He's 6 under. And now has to save. And does so very, very well. So he remains at 2 under after 3. Let's check our leaders board. All these players out later today. And look at the name Nick O'Hearn, and I keep thinking, was it O'Hearn who at one stage in an Australian Open carried his own bag for a couple of rounds?
You're right.
He's got his, and his missus is on. I mean, still keeping the money in the family.
But it promises to be a memorable afternoon here on 7 as the Holden Australian Open continues. Wonderful conditions for golf here at Royal Sydney today. This is Craig Spence to go 5 under, should have no problems. Expecting a top temperature around 21 degrees, and we're just about there. Very little breeze to speak of. That there is coming from the east. But really, we should be in for some good scoring. Peter Lonard, 3rd shot. He's had his problems, Jack.
Yeah, poor tee shot, and he's really struggling. But what a great day it is for golf so far. Nice and overcast. Easy to see the distances. As Greg Chalmers plays his 2nd shot from the right rough. At the 2nd hole, the par 5, and that's a beauty.
Well, we'll go to Spence. Short 3rd. 166 metres. Downhill doesn't look so much when you see it on camera, but it's you can see it's all laid out there below you, and the green actually looks smaller than it is because of all the sand around it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next player on the first tee after 69, 65, 74. He's at 8 under from New Zealand, Michael Campbell.
Well, I had a few shillings on Michael Campbell before the week started, and I had a big grin on my face yesterday until the back 9 came unstuck a little bit, but he's still very much in the hunt. And talking to him this morning, he still gives himself a big chance. This is his opening tee shot, and I think he'd very much like to start a 3-4 or something of that order.
And certainly, in spite of what happened yesterday, his confidence very high. And that'll do nicely.
Rounds of 71, 67, and yesterday a 70, also at 8 under from New South Wales, Peter O'Malley.
And I think a nice man to be playing the final round. Calm, steadying, nice slow rhythm of his own. A good influence.
Yeah, well, I fancied his chances as well this week, but very much reliant on how well he putts, Peter O'Malley. Terrific striker of the ball. Indifferent putter, though. That's a beautiful tee shot. Pretty seasoned golfer these days. Plays most of his golf in Europe.
Yes, he had a chance to win the European Open in midsummer or midwinter. Here's Peter Lonard for a 5, so it drops a shot. And the tee shot to blame.
.166-metre 3rd hole, and Robert Allenby from the elevated tee plays a good one. Not an easy shot. Narrow gutted green, breeze from the player's left.
Back to the action in just a moment, but while we celebrate our Open, let's spend a few moments with another Open champion of the past. Golf this year lost one of its favourite sons. Peter Mitchell now looks back on the life and golfing times of Payne Stewart.
There are images of Payne Stewart that will live with us forever. Of course, there were the clothes, the jaunty cap, the eye-catching NFL-endorsed shirts, the trademark +4s that showed his deep respect for the traditions of the game of golf. But the one enduring image will be the scene at Pinehurst in North Carolina just 5 months ago, and the joy Payne Stewart showed after winning his 2nd US Open.
It was the moment that capped an incredible comeback.
Payne Stewart is the 1999 US Open champion.
Stewart had experienced a shattering defeat just a year earlier, in which he watched a 4-stroke lead evaporate. This time there were to be no unlucky breaks. This time, at the age of 42, he would become only the 13th player to win the US Open title more than once. Stewart's first win in his country's Open Championship came in 1991, when he went head-to-head with Scott Simpson in a playoff and triumphed. 2 years earlier, he'd broken through for his first major win in the US PGA. That year of 1989, Stewart won $1 million on the US Tour. This year, it was $2 million, and another berth in a winning Ryder Cup team.
Would you believe it?
But more than money and titles, Payne Stewart won friends, not just through his ability with golf clubs or his perseverance, flamboyance, or his largely unpublicised charity work. He did it with a bright, bubbly personality and sportsmanship, and it made him one of the giants of the game. On October the 26th, just over a month ago, Payne Stewart was among 6 people killed in a US plane accident that shocked the world. He was survived by his Australian wife Tracy and 2 children, 14-year-old daughter Chelsea and 10-year-old son Aaron. At this Australian Open, there are many players and officials with fond memories of the larger-than-life American. Some will recall his 4 trips to play in our Open Championship. In 1980 at the Lakes, he was overwhelmed by Greg Norman, barely made the cut and collected $260 for finishing second last. A year later at the Victoria Club in Melbourne, he trailed behind countryman Bill Rogers by 18 strokes, again failing to break 300. In 1982 at the Australian course in Sydney, he was right in the thick of things despite an opening round of 77. As Bob Shearer took the title, Stewart finished tied for second with Jack Nicklaus. But wherever and whenever he played down under, Payne Stewart had a legion of friends and fans. Just 2 years ago, while visiting family in Queensland on a pre-Christmas break, he found time to play in Jack Newton's charity event at Twin Waters, where he was paired with another US Open champion, this one from the world of tennis, Pat Rafter.
I have Mr. Pat Rafter up here. I believe he's chosen a 5-iron. Look, that was much better by Mr. Rafter. That it's out there to the right. He's going to have to chip his next shot.
Again, images that will live forever.
His passing made front pages and led television news bulletins right across the world. While we reflected on a glorious career, we watched as a lone piper walked through the mist at an emotional memorial service. The US PGA Tour came to a halt as players, fans and officials took time out to remember someone so special. A world-class sportsman, a man with strong links to Australia. William Payne Stewart, you will be sorely missed.
Here we are back at the first. This is Jeff Ogilvy, 70, 69, 69.
And that's a pure golf swing.
Yeah, you need to come off the tee there, photographer.
Ladies and gentlemen, after rounds of 70, 73 and yesterday a course record equaling 64 at 9 under, a 5-time Australian Open champion from Queensland, Greg Norman.
You can see this breeze, which is quartering predominantly from the east at the moment, pretty well straight into the players' faces. He's going to aim this at the right-hand bunker in the top right corner of your screen. Just try and ride it back on the breeze. You can get pretty close to the putting surface with this.
6 birdies in the first 7 holes were the faces of that great round yesterday. Just the one mistake at the 8th. But that, you might say, was a minor error, Jack, down the left.
Yeah, I think you're better off missing to the right today because he's pitching up the green as Michael Campbell. Putts for a birdie at the first and gets it.
Yes, that was a few moments ago, so a good start by Campbell.
I think he'll enjoy chasing. We'll go to Allenby. We saw before the break his tee shot at the 3rd. This was the birdie putt. Exactly what he did before.
Yeah, he did it at the first, didn't he? Right in the heart short, and he's done it again here at the 3rd. Nothing more exasperating than that. I'd rather miss by a foot, Sandy, than do that or lip out.
think that 5 under could so easily have been at least 7 under.
Obviously on the light. I don't know what he's going for.
Chalmers. Third shot of the second.
I must say these greens are looking extremely quick. That push was downhill, but not dramatically downhill. Very good shot. Jack, an indication of what is possible. Stevie Webster from England has gone out in, was 6-7 under for the day through 10.
It's a fantastic score.
Peter O'Malley needs a birdie here, needs to get something going early on, and gets it. Didn't happen a lot for him yesterday. Maybe today will be the day.
Well, there's a classic case of what we've often said. O'Malley and Campbell both getting birdies. This is Craig Spence attempting his birdie putt at 3.
Yes, you know, you start to see the man you're playing with getting the pace of the greens, and you can learn them and feed off his by just standing sideways on. It can, so often does it help.
Greg Chalmers also a birdie opportunity. This to go 7 under.
Terrific start by the defending champion. 3-4. Birdie, birdie.
I know it's a long way down the track, but playoff holes here today, should they be required, 18 and 17.
Just looking at those half dozen players, all of whom are on 10 under par.
And those that want to get on the website, there's the address for you. You can catch up with all scores, all your favourite players. golf.7.com.au.
Now both Ogilvy and Norman here in the left rough. Not a long shot. This hole only 270 metres. Only have some 30 metres perhaps to the hole. But coming out of the rough, they're not going to be able to get too much spin on the ball. And where Greg is there, that's pretty much the area they'll have to try and land their golf balls. Now, Ogilvy's ball looks to be sitting not too bad, but Norman's looks to be sitting down a bit. Great shot from our Goodyear blimp, looking down at the shot that Greg's got. He's quite a steep bank to contend with. Thick rough. He'll take the sand iron and play it somewhat like a bunker shot. Back in the stance. Beautiful shot. Beautifully executed.
Was, and you saw as he took the club back how he sort of pulled up some grass, sort of which would have he'd had to come through as he went in to strike the balls. That was a brilliant shot. And well, by his standards, a must putt to follow.
Stand still, please.
Couple of practice swings in the rough beside where his ball is. Try and get a feel for the resistance of the semi-rough.
Yes, you try and find a piece of grass that looks similar to where the ball is to get the feel of it.
Also a good shot from Jeff Ogilvy. Not as near as Norman's, but he's coming up the slope. Norman down it.
Peter O'Malley at the second 502-metre par 5. Can't get home in 2, not one of the longer hitters, so just nudging it up so that he'll be his ideal distance short, which tends to be 90 metres or so back. And he'll do that specifically because the pin is so close to the front and you want to hit a shot in with the maximum spin.
Now Michael Campbell also at the second with his second.
.246, 3 woods, hit it good. Coming up a beautiful birdie in the last hole. Needs a really good one here. 2 under after 2, that's the start he's looking for. Perfect position there, great shot.
Lindsay
opportunity, Stephen, with this pair. Should be in for some great golf this afternoon.
As Jack was saying, both of them are sort of coming off of a quietish day 3, so they've got a bit of plenty of adrenaline in the tank.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. My old dad used to say that the law of averages runs out. You can only make so many birdies, Bruce. And if you made them all yesterday, have you got any left?
Yes, Mr. Norman, would you care to answer that particular theory?
Maybe he thinks on a different level to what everybody else does. Oh, good putt from Jack Ogilvy. Good start.
Settle the nerves, won't it? Because he not only is he in contention for the Australian Open, he's also playing with someone who he knows is going to take a very big crowd with him. I love the way he stood up with Michael Campbell in the final group 2 weeks ago. He was it was very impressive, and he was thrilled himself. He said, you know, I found out a lot about things.
Well, we forget he's only been around 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
Turned pro at the back end of last year. So it's been a big learning curve for him in the space of 12 months, although he was a first-class amateur. He's got a huge future. Now, this is a big putt for Greg because, as we know, if he gets on a roll, he's unstoppable. This for a birdie at the opening hole.
Yeah.
10 under par. Share of second spot. 1 behind our leader, Aaron Badley, as we go back to the first, Nick O'Hearn. Rounds of 68, 68, 70.
He did well yesterday, coming back. He took 5s at 3 and 4, which was 3 drop shots in 2 holes.
He started with a course record 64 and followed it up.
He's got a great temperament, I think, Bruce. He doesn't look like anything upsets him.
Now, Robert Allenby needs one. He's had a couple of tries and has been unsuccessful, but this time he does get his birdie. 3rd time lucky for Robert Allenby. And he is now at 6 under par after 4.
First round leader, Paul Gow, with that 64. And of course, fell away badly last year when he was leading after 2 rounds, but he's under much better fist of it this year. Learnt from that experience.
Forward now to Peter O'Malley, who's 3rd to the 2nd. He's just a couple off the pace. Oh, look at this.
What a shot from Peter O'Malley, as Bruce said. Full sand wedge and sucked it back down the slope. Almost certain birdie.
Great start for the boy from Bathurst. We'll be back to see if he can get that birdie and move to 10 under par. Couple of rounds of 68 completed today. Stewart Thompson of New Zealand. A great recovery. He shot an 81 yesterday and has hit back with a 68 today. David Branston shot a 68 as well, the New South Welshman today. They, at the moment, are the only 2 that have completed their 4th round to have broken 70. But scoring is good, as we've seen in these early stages. The question is who, if anyone, is going to spring from the pack? Stay with us and find out. Back to Royal Sydney. This is the final round of the Holden Australian Open. This is Paul Gow playing his 2nd to the 1st. Paul playing with Nick O'Hearn.
Sound of one hand clapping. We'll go to Michael Campbell, who was much closer to the green in 2 than O'Malley, but the chip was not as good. The putt was pretty tasty, so 3 at 1, but 5 at 2.
Yeah, we didn't see his pitch, but it's from where he was after his 2nd. It appeared that he's Played a very good pitch shot there.
Back to Nick Ahern, second to the first. Here's a man who won't be frazzled, Jack, just goes about his business in workmanlike fashion and gets the job done.
Very much so, Sandy. He's not a flamboyant type player and doesn't get a lot of accolades, but he's very tradesmanlike.
O'Malley for birdie. So that's the start that he has wanted. Gets a share of second at 10 under par, and we've got quite a log jam at the top of the leaders board on that figure, one behind Badley. One of them is Greg Norman.
3 days out of 4 he's actually found that little tongue of rough up the left-hand side, and it's he would certainly have had the length to get home in 2, but like O'Malley has decided, let's get it right back at the corner of the dog leg there.
Well, temerity of youth, call it what you might. I will be going for it.
Don't forget, he was the second longest player in Europe this year, behind an Italian, Emanuele Canonica, in the driving stats. Something like 298 yards, which is knock about 10% off of the meterage.
Third shot, Paul Gow at the first.
But he put up a great effort yesterday after 64 in the first round. It's never easy to back up 72 and then came back well yesterday with 70. This for an opening birdie, this to get him momentarily anyway a share of the lead. Plays most of his golf these days on the Nike Tour, and I've got to say that he's really improved his golf. I think the competition, and I know he's worked on the technique a lot. It's doing him good. Down the top of junior from the Western Suburbs Club of Cumberland.
Yeah, it's on the beach.
Paul McGinley from Ireland, and a very good tournament. He's probably had as many birdies as anyone. He's had 16 birdies, 6 bogeys, but he has a good run, then he drops a couple, then he gets 3 more up. He keeps coming back after minor accidents, golfing accidents.
Oh, beautiful swing he's got.
Ahern. This for 3. Great start by Nick Ahern. He has a share of the lead with Aaron Badley.
O'Malley at the short third. 5 iron in his paw.
This is going a little right on the breeze. He's hit 5 iron. Yeah, not too bad there.
He's been one of the early movers, Peter O'Malley. Norman has already picked up a shot. Here he is playing his third to the second.
Just a shot of 90 metres. This looks short. It is in the trap.
He's finding the sand, Pat. As we go back to the first on the tee. New Zealand's Michael Long, rounds of 70, 68 and 68.
Two opposites playing together here. Paul McGinley is a very short man. Michael Long, a big, powerful Kiwi. So it doesn't matter what your shape or build, or you come out and watch someone who is of similar build. I think it's always wise to watch.
To the par 3 third, Michael Campbell does not like it.
He has a poorish pitch at the second, and that may have had some influence on that shot, maybe still lingering in his mind.
Jeff Ogilvy's smashed 2 big shots down here. His green high left. Perfect position to play the chip from. It's pretty quick down here. We saw Peter O'Malley play a beauty from similar position. Yeah, Greg Chalmers it was, of course, not Peter O'Malley. And he, like Michael Campbell, also misjudging that quite significantly.
Here is Michael. Here is Michael Campbell. And awkward stance because his feet are above the ball and the toes pointing down, but pleasant distance of bunker shot. The bad news of that is actually above the hole.
That's the ball of Greg Norman, looking pretty well plugged.
Absolutely no shot. He's just got to splash this out, take his medicine. That's about as good as you can do.
Brilliant shot.
What a wonderful sight on the harbour. Cool, pleasant day. Good day for sailing, great day for golf. Nick Ahern has joined Aaron Badley. There's 5 of them at 10 under par, all set to challenge.
Greg Norman was within a whisker of emulating Aussie Pickworth and winning a hat-trick of Opens when the Australian Championship was played at Melbourne's Metropolitan Golf Club in 1997. Norman bogeyed the last 2 holes, allowing the Englishman Lee Westwood to draw level and force a playoff. At the 4th playoff hole, Westwood triumphed to end the Sharks' tilted history.
Michael Long now, as we return to the action in the Holden Australian Open final round. Second shot to the first, giving himself a birdie opportunity to open proceedings. And this is Peter O'Malley ahead on 3. He's one who's made a forward start, a birdie here, and he's got a share of the lead after starting at 8 under.
Greg Norman, after that terrific bunker shot, the fried egg light to here, downhill putt to save par, should slide just a little bit left to right. Started with a birdie. Oh, well done. Great save by Norman.
Just about as good as a birdie, isn't it?
Certainly mentally, yes, because he was. He'll feel good about saving that. Stays 1 under for the day. Michael Campbell at the 3rd. This to save his par. Remember, in the bunker on the right of the hole as he played it. He played a pretty good shot from there, but this is quick. Very quick. So birdie, par, bogey has been his run. And if you're going to make a run, he's gone back to 9 under par. You really cannot afford those.
Michael Long missing his very makeable birdie putt at the first.
Jeff Ogilvy gets his par.
That's having the hole one that length, Sandy, when you were on the edge of the green in 2. But so it's not easy, and we'll go to O'Malley to save his par at the 3rd.
Ladies and gentlemen, after rounds of 72, 67 and 67 at 10 under from Scotland, Colin Montgomery.
Extraordinary statistics. 52, 4 holes played and 52 greens hit in the appropriate number.
Yeah, the key to his round, Bruce, is going to be his putting. I'm pretty sure of that. Striking is never under question.
Yes, it's also the key to his humour on the day, how he feels about things.
After rounds of 67, 68 and 70, he's at 11 under, and he is our tournament leader. From Victoria, Aaron Badley.
Is this going to be the day of the Lillywhite?
Huge job for him to keep his emotions under control. I mean, 18 years of age, I just can't believe this kid is leading the Australian Open. But he believes he can win it, and he's got the golf game. Has he got the experience to handle the pressure? Playing with one of the best players in the world. Oh.
That's the last thing he needs.
Unbelievable self-control to stop. But he was ready to pull the trigger. Bro. Give him a go. So he goes through this little routine here where he closes his eyes, imagines the shot.
And promptly puts it all behind him and plays an absolute beauty. There you can see the ball of Montgomery on the left, Badley on the right, fractionally in front of the man who's won the European Order of Merit 7 times to the third oval.
Pretty straight, and the good news is it's below the hole, so he's putting up the hill.
Six iron in the hands of Greg Norman on the same hole.
Pin 24 back and 7 from the left.
Nick Ahern, very good pitch and putt at the first, but he's, by our method or our determination, probably a bit too close to the green. But he's got a variety of shots. He'll throw this well up in the air. And although he plays it very well, that was just about as good as he could have done.
Great for the lefties out there to be able to watch Nick Ahern and Greg Chalmers, both of whom are doing well in the Australian Open. Most of my mates up in Newcastle who are left-handed believe that they're hard done by.
In what way?
Oh, equipment and everything else, but they all think that the coaching manuals, everything are all made for right-handers, and they feel like they've got to convert everything.
Well, the other thing, of course, is that all golf courses are designed by right-handers, or most of them. At least you tend to believe they are. You know, and when you see staggered bunkers down fairways, the one on the left is always longer than the one on the right because you hit the ball further when you draw it as opposed to cut it. Under those circumstances, of course, it pays to be the other way. But you've had your fair share in recent years down here, Jack.
Yeah, well, I think what happened, Bruce, years gone by was because of the equipment issue and everything else, most people converted from left-handed to play right-handed when their natural way of playing was left-handed.
And then along came Bob Charles, I suppose, that made it okay. But certainly you've had more, or the impression is you've had more than most countries who get to the top of the game.
Am I right in saying he's still the only left-hander to win a major?
Yes, I think.
The Americans wish Phil Mickelson would win one,
Yes,
but he hasn't.
Paul Gow then. Long birdie attempt, outside chance for a share of the lead.
Looking further ahead, this young man is having an outstanding round. This is Stephen Webster from England. He is 9 under for the day. And 8 under for the championship. This is a young man who finished 48th in the European Order of Merit and is having a day out here at Royal Sydney.
Now Greg Norman, long range putt for a 2 at 3, the par 3. Swing from his left to right. Pretty good putt underneath the hole.
Here's Aaron Baddeley. Beautiful little chip shot at the first. And if the drive settled the nerves, now he's, I won't say beginning to walk on water, but that's a wonderful start.
Been heavily back too, Bruce. Just been told he's been back from $9 into $7 on Sports Tab as Norman caps his par putt in at 3. So the punters out there are taking a punt on him. And what better way to start?
Looking down from the Goodyear airship, that gives you an excellent idea of what's ahead for Colin Montgomery and where he is. Playing his second. Can he get as close as Baddeley? It's done very well. We could have a real shootout here at Royal Sydney this afternoon.
Here's Nick O'Hearn for his 4. And briefly, on paper at least, the outright lead, which he gets, but he's about to be joined by the man he's taken it from.
Very nonchalant, isn't he, Bruce?
Yes.
Birdies everywhere at the moment. Jeff Ogilvy attempting to get into double figures.
It's an excellent putt that didn't go in. But they're all important, and he knows it.
Another on 10 under is Paul Gow. Long, McGinley, Norman, Gow and O'Malley, all at 10 under par. And Colin Montgomery, birdie opportunity at the first.
Well, he's to putt first, obviously, and rather like with Greg Norman, Jack, I feel it's vital for him to get this in at the first.
Yes, if he misses it, and he openly admits he's got a few putting problems at the moment. If he misses it, it's going to put a few doubts in his mind, isn't it, I think? And it's going to take something good to happen almost immediately to erase the thoughts, but inside left lip.
He gets it. So Scotland's Colin Montgomery moves to 11 under par.
I think he came here a little sort of, I won't say tired, but a little wasted, but he's really back in the fight now.
4th hole, interesting play here from Greg Norman. He's taking an iron from the tee. Not a bad play, I don't think. It's, as long as he puts it down the right-hand side. Yeah, that's perfectly positioned because the trees jut out on the left. Anything down the left, you can get blocked out.
Nick O'Hearn at 12 under par. Playing the par 3.
This is where his troubles began yesterday. He took 5 here, and that's not what the doctor ordered.
Well, O'Hearn leads at 12 under outright, but he could be joined by Aaron Baddeley right now. What a start by the youngster. Not intimidated on the first tee and proceeds with a 3. O'Hearn and Baddeley at 12 under. Montgomery 11 under. McGinley, Long, Gow, Norman and O'Malley all at 10 under par. And then Jeff Ogilvy, Michael Campbell, other players in with a great chance. Steve Webster has this wonderful round going. He's 9 under for the day. We're going to take a break from Royal Sydney and be back when the Holden Australian Open continues. Cool, overcast day here in Sydney. This is the suburb of Rose Bay. And looking down from the Goodyear airship, a wonderful view of Royal Sydney. Great galleries on this final day. All players out. Plenty of birdies there for the picking, and this is Michael Long. He's missed his birdie opportunity here. This is for par. This to remain at 10 under.
Wasn't an easy putt when you're faced with that one, when you know really you should ideally start 3-4.
Norman also is at 10 under, playing now his second to the fourth. Par 4 of 390 metres. 6-iron in his hand.
Pretty tough pin position here, front left-hand side, so he's actually had to turn that around a little bit in the air, which he's done, and knowing it was a firm surface, you just need to pitch that on the surface, and I might well have got a forward kick.
This was Paul McGinley a few moments ago. This to go 11 under. No Irishman has ever won the Australian Open. This man certainly with a chance.
Sounds like he's got half of Ireland out here at Rose Bay as Nick O'Hearn, excuse me, plays his trap shot. A bit to do to say par as we rush up to 4. Second shot of Jeff Ogilvy playing with Greg Norman.
The line almost over that crossing point sign. There's a lollipop sign. And both of them are touchable, but putting up the hill, which would have been very important to them.
Nick O'Hearn will drop a shot here. That's an improvement on yesterday. He took double bogey. He was in the bunker and blasted from one bunker into the other.
And with those little memories and bad news sort of stays with you. Did there.
Second shot, Aaron Badley at the second.
Yeah. Coming from that thickish rough, not much more he could do, but bang it down the fairway and leave himself with a full third shot into the flag.
We talk of the consistency of Montgomery. He's actually quite long as well. He's never far behind even the big hitters. And he could have done with another few yards. Now he's got to come over the corner of that bunker. A nitpick.
Not in the bunker yet.
Well remembered, Sandy.
At 4, Jeff Ogilvy. This to get it back into double figures.
The uphill big swing from his left to right. Well, he, like me thought that'd break to the right, and it didn't. And he's got one of those nasty length putts now down the slope to save par.
I'm sure it is down the slope. I agree with you. I thought that would come. It's one of these sort of almost electric brays. A help, therefore, for Greg to go second.
Playing his third.
Currently 2 shots from the lead.
I think both of them bent goose there by the slope. They thought the ball must break to the right. Neither of their putts really broke much at all. But I can assure you the slope is from that left edge of the green down to the right.
Aaron Badley, Jeff Flanagan should be in for a wonderful afternoon following this young man.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it, Sandy. Forced to lay up out of the left rough. He's just got a pitch of some 90 metres and it's going straight at the stick from a right stand.
And you've got to remember he was actually there. He got that upper slope. It went off to the side, but that's some force he put on that.
Now this is this awkward little putt. Well hold.
To the third, 166 metres for Paul McGinley. He's at 11 under.
Hitting a 5-iron in here, Sandy. And he's hit it right at the pin. Now this was very lucky. He stepped over the O'Hearn bunker. And just look how close that's got. He even actually pitched on the face of the upslope of the bunker, which took some pace out of it.
Time to have a look, a closer look at this third par 3, Jack, of 166 metres.
Yeah, it's a good hole because the tee is elevated, and when there's a bit of breeze around, it really plays havoc with the golf balls once it gets out into the open spaces down near the green. So this will give you some indication from here. You go down the hill, narrow gutted green that sits at you slightly from left to right and surrounded by a sea of bunkers. The one on the right is very deep, as is the one on the left short. Pin today cut 24 metres on and 7 from the left-hand side. So the players on the tee, the caddies would be saying you've got 150 to the front and the pins on 24, 174 to the hole. Most of them hitting 5-iron. I'd suggest Michael Long hitting a 6. And that easterly breeze pushing the golf balls away from the flag. To get it close today, you've really got to shape your golf ball from right to left into that breeze, and that's a dangerous ploy.
Back on the second, Colin Montgomery.
Beautiful shot. The great thing about those is that the fairways are so good here, you can get the ball underneath them.
All the top golf coming away on 7. The Greg Norman Holden International is being played at the Lakes in February. Greg assembling a class field. It's a wonderful course, and we should be in for a fabulous 4 days of golf. Starting on Thursday, February the 3rd, and culminating on Sunday the 6th, and you'll see it all on 7. This man today playing with the host, Greg Norman. Jeff Ogilvy.
Well, as the camera pulled back, that you saw exactly what his problem is. There's a tree ahead of him, and he's either got to go round it. He might be far enough back to go over the top.
Badly started the day with a birdie. He's looking to make it 2 in a row. Isn't far off there either.
Up ahead to the 5th, Greg Norman going with his 3-wood, or his 3-metal.
A smart play too, Jack, just taking his right-hand flaps out of play. He's aiming down the left-hand side to open up this right-hand pin placement, and that's absolutely perfect in the air. Look at it now.
From Norman to Montgomery, and this for a share of the lead. Monty gets it to 12 under. There is a spring in the step.
Nick O'Hearn's second shot to the 4th. Ideal tee position off the tee. Get a good look at this left-hand pin position. Hasn't really gone for it, but left himself the uphill putt.
Montgomery making a move. He has a share of the lead. Badley still there. O'Hearn closing in. So too McGinley. Just one shot between those four players. And any of these two could win the 1999 Holden Australian Open. Welcome back. You're watching New Zealand's Michael Long at the third here at Royal Sydney. Long is currently at 10 under par, 2 shots from the lead, but he can close it here. On target, just needs a little more fuel. He would have been there, but he remains at 10 under par.
And if you go through those first few holes without a birdie, you really do feel you've missed a little bit. This is Greg Norman at the 5th. As Pat Welsh said, absolutely position A for attacking the pin. Just an 8-iron in his hands, and well, so often you see they push the ball a little bit. It doesn't travel quite as far as it would if it went to the target, and that's the result.
McGinley just sliding away to the right.
It's a 3-putt. Remember, he came up just short. He wasn't far away in one.
Takes him back to 10 under. While ahead on 6, O'Malley has the opportunity to get to 10 under. He's got it. O'Malley is 2 from the lead. An opportune time to welcome another of the greats in Australian golf, Ian Baker-Finch, to the microphone. Welcome, Ian.
Thanks very much, Sandy. It's great to be back in the commentary box as we see Colin Montgomery now on the tee at the third. 2 fine birdies, the first 2 holes.
It's 6-iron, Ian, for Montgomery. It's got to go, though. It's leaking to the right. It's got to get up.
And a very difficult hole to get close to, this third. It's a deceiving little hole down the hill, breeze out of the left.
And again, Aaron Badley momentarily distracted. We understand on the first it was a young child distracting him. Now he appears to be set.
It's a 6-iron for Aaron Sandy to wind out of his left. Flag all the way into the back of the green. He needs a good close one here for his birdie chance. And also leaked it away to the right, but safely on. Good safe shot.
I must say, and I like the way when something does distract him, he backs off. Some people just stand there and stop and wiggle. He goes through the routine again, so he's already looking to have the old head on the young shoulders, as we say.
Yes, that's for sure, and he certainly did on the first hole. I was very proud of the way that he came up and bashed one down there. Perfect position off the first after having to back off 2 times.
Norman, the 3rd to the 5th.
That right-hand edge is just about the highest point on this green. He's played an exquisite recovery shot there. It was downhill to the flag after that, not severely.
I think, Bruce, it's one of the things that has been, well, certainly not spoken of enough through Greg Norman's career, is how he gets it up and down so well. He has a fantastic short game around the greens.
Yes, he worked very hard on that in the sort of latter years, sort of during his mid-30s. It's where he really sharpened that up. And he's had, that's his 3rd 1-putt green, and he's done well. 2nd particularly was another one.
Jeff Ogilvy has chipped to here, so he can also walk away with par.
This is a great experience for the young fella, Jeff Ogilvy, playing in such a big tournament and on a Sunday afternoon in contention with his idol and superhero, Greg Norman.
He remains at 9 under. 3 from our leaders, Badley and Montgomery, at 12 under par. Nick O'Hearn, who has his wife Anna caddying for him.
Yes, they've been touring Europe this summer, having his first full year out of there, and got his card fairly easily. And perhaps, well, talking to him earlier this week, he wasn't that happy with what he'd done, but he had higher ambition because of how well he's done over here.
But she mightn't be caddying for him
for too much longer.
Yeah.
If family matters have their way.
That's what they're hoping for. And Nick, another one of those young players here in Australia that's growing up watching Greg Norman playing golf on our television screens for so many years. Really has kick-started a lot of careers here in Australian golf.
A little bit of distraction. So Ahern ready now. Jean Vandervelde, another of our visitors, shot a 69 today. This is Ahern for his par. This time it's the Flyers.
Nick finished 33rd on the Australian money list this last season and was 20th the season before, so he's had a couple of pretty good years. Be looking for something a little better than that this season coming up. And he's really been good around the greens the last few days. Every time we've seen him, he's been holding those well and with confidence. He thinks he can win. That's the most important thing.
Well, things have quietened down. The third green and the 15th absolutely right alongside one another. Holes running in the opposite direction. Now this is very much about getting the pace right. He's had 2 short putts so far, so this is his first long one. And a difficult one at that. Now, has he hit this hard enough? Not quite, and that's very difficult. It's not very long, but the good news from his point of view, he's held a couple already.
Here we are on the 6th. Short par 3, 141 metres. And Pat Welsh watching Norman on 6.
And so too a huge gallery, Sandy. A little bit noisy at times. Just an 8-iron that's playing down the breeze. Starting it out to the right of the flag and trying to work it back. It's just stay to the right of the flag, I should say.
Both players side by side there with makeable birdie chances.
Now Paul McGinley is second to the 4th.
Plays most of his golf at Sunningdale, even though he has an apartment at the K Club in Dublin. He said he plays a lot of golf and practices a lot in Sunningdale.
Yes, his home is in, he's got one less than a mile from the club.
Badly. This looks very good.
Sensational start by the young Victorian.
13 under par. Nerves of steel.
Colin who? Is he playing this?
Monty someone.
That's terrific. Absolutely terrific. 2 birdies, the first 3 holes.
And really a little unlucky not to birdie the second as well. Hit a good putt, just broke away at the last minute. And now one of those little testers, sort of left edge. Do I give the hole away? Don't I give the hole away? About a metre away.
12 holes, straight and firm, I think. So he'll be in reasonable humour. He's done all right.
To the 5th, Nick Ahern.
That'll do very nicely. It's not the ideal side, but just look how far that's run. He'd rather be over the other side with the pin where it is, but one's being a bit picky, I suppose, suggesting that.
Greg Norman all of a sudden finds himself 3 shots shy of Aaron Baddeley, but he can get one back here.
I think the top players that have been in this situation many times before realise that there's a lot of golf still yet to be played, though. And quite often, especially on this type of golf course where the front nine's a little easier than the back, someone will jump out of the box as well. But being able to hang on for the rest of the day is the key.
Having said that, I mean, most people say, yes, the tournament will start at the 54th hole. But this is a different course, isn't it? You can make birdies on the front nine. And as you say, you've got to try and hang on. So if someone can get out and get a handy lead, they could take some catching.
Yes, that's correct, because you've got the first 3 holes, a couple of tough ones, then the last 3 or 4 holes on the front 9. I mean, they're all birdie chances. It is, as we've seen, a couple of 29s already on the front 9 this week.
We'll go back to him in just a moment. Here's our leader.
It'll take Greg Norman a minute or two to sort that out. This at the 4th.
And one of those 29s was young Aaron, first 9 holes of the championship on Thursday.
And the difficulty of the back nine, it won't be as hard today, was of course shown by Robert Allen 4 years ago.
Yes.
Well, I suppose the advantage here on the 6th green would be to go second, having had a look at the other man going first. Norman's first up, and probably just outside the right edge.
This to go 11 under.
Although Greg hasn't been playing that much this season because of his shoulder surgery in 1998, he still leads the career money list in the United States. He's made $12.5 million US on that circuit over the last 17 or 18 years. Still the #1.
Now Colin Montgomery on the 4th Crown Lager hole.
3 wood he's selected there. And you take whatever club is appropriate to get to the corner of the dog leg.
Bruce, it just shows you
the narrow part of the course.
Beg your pardon, just shows you how confident he is taking wood off here with every other player hitting irons.
Already we've seen a couple of course records. We could be looking at another one through this man, Stephen Webster, who's got it to 10 under for the day and 9 under for the championship. This is extraordinary, this Englishman.
It is, and I mean, he's a good little player, but he's not not known for doing those sort of scores. I say little, he's not very tall, he's not the biggest man, and he's on the hardest hole on the course.
Well, he wants par, and he's got 62. Wouldn't a couple of players like to buy that from him later on in the afternoon? Probably not Aaron Baddeley at the moment because he's flying. He's holding his lead. Started the day leading by 1, continues to lead by 1. Montgomery is out after him. So too Ahern, Norman, McGinley, O'Malley, and a bunch of others in the Holden Australian Open. Unfolding here at Royal Sydney, this final round of the Holden Australian Open. Here's our leader, Aaron Baddeley, playing the 4th.
It's 4-iron for Baddeley, Sandy, from 177, and looking pretty good from down here on the fairway. Great shot.
Jeff Flanagan following Aaron Baddeley. That's Andre Stoltz in Sandcam. Oh! Well, he smacked into the base of that pin and ricocheted away.
Now Nick Ahern, 3rd shot from off the fringe of the green, and he's going with the 3 wood, metal 3 wood. So many of the players now using this type of shot, especially in Bermuda grass fringes, they get the ball rolling a lot better than it does with a putter.
Yes, Tiger Woods was the first one I really saw do that on a regular basis, starting US Open a couple of years ago.
Steve Webster on target for a new course record. He needs to finish par. He's had a couple of good results in Europe this year, Bruce, and finished up 48th in the order of merit. And here's the man who won it for the 7th straight time, Colin Montgomery.
That's a phenomenal statistic too, isn't it, Bruce? 7 order of merit titles in a row.
148 iron. And for Monty, bit to the right, but pretty safe.
Yes, an ideal place. It is. It's the monument to his consistency, and of course, when he's as dominant as that in Europe, it's you know, he's got the others, the hoodoo sign on the others. Yes. Steve Webster actually came to prominence as an amateur in the 1995 Open Championship at St Andrews. He was that was the one won by John Daly. Michael Campbell led after 3 rounds, but he won the amateur medal.
Webster has 1 eagle, 8 birdies, 7 pars, and now make that 8 pars. He has 1 to play, and barring a tragedy, he will smash the course record.
Well, the good thing is, up, down 18, he doesn't have to take the driver off the tee. He can take a 3 wood or a long iron and get to the corner, and really shouldn't have the driver in his hand. Looks calm enough, but rather like the duck on the pond. There's a lot of action going on underneath.
This is Paul Gow. Came out of the bunker at the 5th to this position. This for a par. Boy, this young fella swings really improved the last couple of years. Playing on the Nike Tour in the United States has helped his game, and he's a winner on that tour. And I feel that if you can win on that tour, even though it's only regarded as the 2nd tour in the United States, it still gives you that feeling inside that you can come out and win here.
To the 7th, Peter O'Malley, one who made an early charge, has this to go to 11 under par.
Well, that would have looked unbelievably good from where he was.
Hearn at 5 and 3 wood for his 3rd and putt for his 4th. You've got to practice that though, Sandy. It's not something you want to sort of try in the club medal next week. You've got to have a few hours around practically just getting the feel of it. I've always found it rather clumsy, I must admit, with the top of the shaft of a long club stuck in his thumb.
Punters have been having a field day with Aaron Badley. It's going from $9 to $4, and it could be a very bad result for Sports Tab.
Paul McGinley on the left-hand side of the fairway, hitting up the hill to the 5th.
It's interesting, in latest betting, gentlemen, Colin Montgomery, however, is the favourite to win this afternoon at $3.50. Norman is at $4. Badley is at $4. And Ahern is at $8.
Montgomery at the 4th down there on the right of your screen, just after the pitch. Surprising judgment of error I felt from Badley. He was certainly a club and a half short coming up there. Montgomery to join him at 13 under.
And putting from the absolute ideal position on this hole. When you're going uphill to a blind surface, it's very hard to do anything else but hit it to the middle of the green and leave themselves with that uphill putt. And I'm sure that's why Aaron Badley came up so short. He knows that beyond the pin is courting disaster, especially if you go over the back.
Here we are at the 6th. This little par 3 of 141 metres amongst the crowd. Lindsay Stephen.
Yeah, a little bit down breeze, downhill this hole, Sandy. He's got 7-iron from 147. Playing nicely. The left-handers are on him today, I'm sure. This looks really good. Just got to go a little bit now. Under the hole, uphill putt, good spot to be, really.
And from one par 3 to another, just adjacent actually to the 6th green, is the 14th tee, and the 6-time major winner, Nick Faldo.
Oh, yeah. He's 1 under for today, but he's had a couple of bogeys and hit a bad shot at this hole yesterday.
Badley, this to save par. His first blemish, and that still runs off.
And that's what I was talking about, Sandy. You don't want to be beyond the hole here, because this green is treacherous going back down the slope.
I think it's been, I was walking around earlier in the week, and I think it's either been relayed. It was a different colour to the others, and I seem to remember down the years it's been altered.
Oh, yes, it's a new green. Yeah, the old green used to be further to the right, and it wasn't quite as sharp a dog leg. They moved it back up into the left and rejigged it a little. So that's correct. It is a different surface completely to the other greens.
I'll tell you what, dear, and I don't know that I'd like to play foursomes with this young man.
I would.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. I'm worried about the one back.
Oh, boy.
Yes, oh, he's a terrific player.
He certainly is. And he has wonderful parents. Joanne and Ron Badley have really have level heads on their shoulders, and you can see why he's so level-headed himself. Oh, great putt.
But it's a shot dropped. He loses the outright lead.
Great recovery, because that, you know, you're suddenly faced with dropping 2 shots in this company, and doesn't seem to faze him. He does the difficult things so well.
Norman, second, par 5-7.
227 metres, Sandy, just from the light left-hand rough with a 3-iron. This is heading down to the left-hand side of the green. It's got to skip through this little valley to go through onto the green. Falling back down, so not a bad result. He's there for 2.
Now we saw Faldo play his tee shot at the par 3 14th. Now he's got this pitch over the left-hand bunkers. Checking it up nicely, going back into the breeze, always gives you a little bit more spin. Just over a metre left for 3.
Michael Long playing with Paul McGinley, as both of them had very good second shots here at 5th. And that was coming in and then seemed to go back again. Both McGinley and Long taking 4 at the short hole, the 3rd. So they're sort of marking time. Actually, Michael Long playing with Jared Moseley.
On the 8th, Peter O'Malley. Picked up a couple of shots early and has the opportunity of another one here. This short par 4.
Now this for a 2 at the par 3 6th. Gets right over it, gets the top of his long shaft there on his chest, gets his eyes over the ball. They all have a different method, don't they? All of the guys using the long putters. It's amazing the difference in styles. It's the same as it is with us with the short ones. Had a go at it.
Nick O'Hearn playing with Paul Gow, who's a couple over today, so has gone back to 8 under.
3 times the Open champion, 3 times Masters champion.
And 1 under today.
Nick Faldo.
Still persevering with the left foot forward on the putting stroke to try and square up the stroke through the ball. Good 3. Having tugged his tee shot left, but still, by his standards, far too many really poor shots in the long game.
To the 5th, Aaron Baddeley. Sharing the lead with his playing partner.
Started out the week wanting to finish in the top 15 and win the amateur medal. And I think his expectations are a little better than that right now. He always thought he could win, but would be happy just to take home the amateur title and finish well up.
Coming to the 18th, Stephen Webster had played 58 shots, which is quite extraordinary. He's played now 59.
He's made a slight error here going down the left, but the good news is he's hit it far enough to see round the corner. He's got a swing. No reason why he shouldn't knock this in.
Actually, the hole being in the back right, if he does have a reasonable lie, it's not too bad an angle in some ways. Looked like he had to sort of draw that around a little bit.
That's okay, and if he gets, if he's got a restricted backswing, he can move away.
Up and down from there for a round of 62. Back to him shortly. In the meantime, Paul McGinley to go to 11 under.
No. It's very easy, Sam, to say, well, if he did it a little harder, it held its line. You saw there, it's very glassy, and of course the wind over these days, they've had no rain since the start on Thursday, which has allowed the Australian Golf Union to prepare this course as they like, firm and fast.
O'Hearn for par. He remains a stroke back on 11 under.
Good steady start. Well, Greg Norman yesterday eagled the 7th hole. chipped in from off the green. Let's see if he can do 2 days in a row.
Very different type of shot to yesterday. Yesterday he ran it up the bank. There's more green to play with this time, so he could pitch it all the way. Back to the 6th. Paul McGinley on the short par 3.
And a minimum of fuss with that swing. Very strong player, very stable lower half, good swing.
He's played very well this year, and perhaps not had the results he play deserved. On 5, Aaron Baddeley.
And 6 iron, trying to start the ball at the camera tower there on the left-hand side of the green, trying to work it back on the breeze, but it's staying there, but safely in the heart of the green.
Look at those wonderful galleries following Baddeley and Montgomery. And we're about to see Montgomery. Voice there of Alistair McLean, Colin's long-time caddy.
Not the Alistair McLean.
Well, it might have been because he makes more money doing this. But no. Good pin position this for Monty. Back right, because he's a natural fader of the ball. He's certainly pushed that right to left. Now that's a club wrong by his standard. And what a difficult shot back. Alistair. Ooh, if he'll catch the blade. Back to the novels. So we'll let Montgomery ponder what lies ahead of him. Baddeley is there. The big story is Steve Webster. He looks to be coming home in 62, shattering the course record of 64. We'll see if he can when we return. This is Steve Webster. This for a 3, albeit an outside chance, but it's for a 61. As he plays his 72nd hole, he now has that for par and that to smash the old record by 2, held by this man, Greg Norman. He can get it to 11 under here. I think the green's as fast as it is. It's the glass bridge as opposed to the cellophane. There's no giving it at all. I think you're right, Bruce. And the mistake there was to hit the ball, hit that little chip past the hole.
Peter O'Malley, little putt here for par at the 8th, short par 4. Having an extra look at the green there, can't quite believe what happened.
Well, here's Colin Montgomery. Now the difficulty here, he's on quite a sharp downslope at the back of the 5th, and he's lobbed it across the gap with a little dell, and all in all has played a pretty good shot, because if he hit it further to take the break, he'd have, or thrown it further, he'd have run. Here's Steve Webster. This for par at the last. This for a round of 62. Now, Steve, we've given you this enormous build-up. You've still got the course record there for the taking. It's also got to that part of the tournament where he's moved himself so far up the leaderboard. I mean, that was a very expensive
My word,
mess.
because he's got it to 9 under for the championship, and now he's going to drop a shot, and there are a lot of players in that area.
Always very hard to concentrate on just that one putt that's in front of you at the time, when all of those other things have the opportunity of popping into the mind.
There is a new course record. A round of 63 for England's Steve Webster, dropping a shot on the last, but finishing at 8 under, and a wonderful round of golf. Here's Colin Montgomery. First bit of a crisis. Only the 3rd green he's missed in the right number all week. No.
So one of his 2 birdies today goes back, and he drops out of the share of the lead with Badley. And it's only his 4th bogey of the week.
Here at 8, Greg Norman. Remember Robert Allenby here in '94? A 2 in the final round. Norman's using a sand iron, and he's got an excellent chance of a 3.
Now, Badley for a tap-in par at the 5th.
Nick O'Hearn was quite long enough to get home in 2. I presume, Lindsay, that an error off the tee for O'Hearn.
Down in 2. But let's see how it goes. He's got a sand iron from 65 metres.
Sand iron from 65. Thank you, Lindsay.
Well, one thing in his favour there is at least he has an uphill putt, quite a big swing from right to left.
To the 6th, 141 metre par 3, shortest on the course. Aaron Badley, our leader, at 12 under, leading by 1 from Colin Montgomery and Nick O'Hearn.
First time he's had the honour today. He teed off 2nd behind Montgomery at the 1st, as befits the leader in the championship. And after that mistake by Montgomery at 5, lovely shot in there. One of the great strengths of Montgomery, and we might see it here with the pin very close to the back. He's a wonderful judge of distance, which actually is why I was so surprised when he got it wrong at the last.
One of the reasons why he is so good with judging his distance is he's went to the Callaway factory, the clubs that he uses, and he changed all of the lofts. His 2-iron is a very strong 2-iron at 16.5 degrees, and he changed every club all the way back through his bag to his 9-iron, 4.5 degrees. So they're not the normal standard, they're his standard. They're 4.5 degrees different each loft, and then he has less loft than what most people have on some clubs at the end of the range, 1, 2 and 3-iron, and more loft on his wedge, 9 and sand wedges. And once again, flushing that one through the back of the green, straight over the flag. But he has said to me that this year he's had more shots pin high throughout the season than ever before.
Norman, birdie putt on 8. This to go 11 under. To get to within 1 of Badley.
Again, just like the putt of the similar length of the last, very, very difficult. Huge swing from the left.
Norman remains at 10 under. But look at this card. It's one that Steve Webster will cherish in years to come, because he has the new course record here at Royal Sydney. A round of 63 today for Steve Webster. It was a round that included 1 eagle, 8 birdies, 8 pars, and it just all became too much at the last, that 1 bogey, but still a wonderful round of golf. These players are in front of him. Badley leading the way from Montgomery and O'Hearn, McGinley and Norman. Holes tick by. No one really has leapt out of the pack to grab Badley as yet. But there's still plenty of golf left here in Royal Sydney. This is Nick O'Hearn. He's playing the par 5 7th. But the good news for the West Australian is this is a birdie putt. The share of the lead awaits. And O'Hearn is right there as well.
Monty from the drop zone over the back of the 6th.
Well, he would have been under a camera tower, I suspect. I don't think there's a grandstand there, so perhaps a good result for him, and he's taken full advantage of it.
Ahead to 9, and Greg Norman, par 4 of 328 metres.
Ideal position here, Sandy, is to take it down the right half of the fairway because there's big trees overhang on the left.
That's exactly what he's done, Ian, down the right half, leaving the shot from where it's there, around about 130, 140 metres.
Position A.
Here's the 6th green once again, the final group. The championship leader, as he was at start of play. Aaron Baddeley, of course, he's been joined by Nick O'Hearn, who's twice joined him and on one previous occasion fell back again. But a very good chance to extend that lead. So he's a bold putter. And funnily enough, he wants to watch out for the short holes. He's actually dropped 5 shots at 2 of the short holes. He's dropped 2 here. He's taken 4s twice, and he's had 3 4s at the 14th. So he feels this one owes him a bit. And he really, once he gets over the ball, he really does hit it quickly. But a good 3, lovely tee shot.
Have you ever seen an 18-year-old so level-headed in the heat of battle?
Well, funnily enough, Sergio Garcia is a little bit, is much in the same mold. Being a Latin, he's perhaps a little more volatile by nature.
Peter Lonard, 2nd to the 10th, going pretty well too, is Pete. He's 10 under.
And just not quite getting over the ridge in the centre of this green.
Here's Greg Norman, as we were saying, Pat was saying, perfect position. The pin today at the 9th, long left.
Seven iron for Greg. This is just a touch left. He's got to stay away from that trap. Now it's coming back. Great shot.
Deceiving second shot in there. Once again going uphill. Can't quite see the surface of the green.
Paul McGinley has problems here. He's got to take a drop here on 7 after flying into the rough on the left.
That's probably his weak shot on the long ones, is a hook under, you know, crucial moments. And that was obviously his second shot went in there. And now under penalty of 1 shot, he'll come out. And of course, had he been deep in, he can only move it 2 clubs length sideways, if you like. And if he'd been deep in and he'd still been in the bush, so he's had to get his driver out, and he looks as though he's just about okay.
Back to him in just a moment. In the meantime, Colin Montgomery to save par.
This is a big putt.
But never in doubt.
Having bogeyed the 5th to get a very, well, a fortuitous break, should we say, there, and get it up and down for par was a good thing for Monty in the middle of his round.
He'll be very concerned, though, 2 shots in a row when he's hit so many greens in the right number, to have airmailed the green. That does sort of put doubt in the mind.
McGinley's a little concerned too at the moment, just seeing what lies ahead. This, bear in mind, is going to be his 4th shot. While he marches back, let's have a look via our course reader. We can see what's in front of him, Ian.
Yes, he's down there in the left. And unfortunately, that's the 9th green. It's not actually the 7th. Sorry about that. But it's pretty similar to that, actually, down the left side of here.
Yes, you just, the big difference, of course, is the tilt of the green, whereas 9 is long and narrow. This one's wide and shallow. And the difficulty, I think, it really is that you've got to fly it all the way. You've got to get it over the bunker and then somehow stop it.
Playing his 4th shot, McGinley.
Well, if you can get out of jail here and knock it somewhere up there within 10 feet or so and still make a par. Oh, unlucky, hit the very front of the green, bit of an upslope there and kicked it to the left.
He was probably planning to pitch it on it and then go straight on. I agree, it was unlucky.
Back on the 8th, Nick O'Hearn. Holding a share of the lead. That ball just sucking back towards the very edge of the green. Nick O'Hearn tied for 27th position in Adelaide last year, Royal Adelaide in the Open.
Long birdie chance for Peter Lonard here at the 10th. He's been putting better the last couple of days. First day he wasn't too happy with his putter and changed it with Vic Bennett, who works up here in the pro shop, had a putter. He borrowed that and he said, Vicky, if I putt well with it, you're not getting it back. And he hasn't got it back.
Norman now at 9. To go 11 under.
Good news about this putt is it's uphill, so he can be relatively positive with it. And after starting well, nothing much has happened for Norman. Just the one birdie.
I've mentioned a couple of times that going uphill to a surface that you can't see, it's always very easy to come up short. One of the keys you can use is to try and aim at the top of the flagstick rather than just aiming at the bottom like you normally do, and that gives you that little bit of extra that gets it up the hill a bit further.
Yeah, that's for the amateur who hasn't got the you know, the yardage chart in his hand.
Yes.
And knows exactly that.
Par for Norman.
35 to the turn, 1 under, and of course he'd be comparing that regardless. You can't help it with yesterday's 31.
Safely in the clubhouse is a young man by the name of Steve Webster. Came out here last year and finished in a tie for 11th spot in Royal Adelaide. Today he's come out and shot 63, a new course record. During our coverage of the final day of the Holden Australian Open, Paul McGinley trying desperately to stay at 10 under par. A bold showing, but it's going to be a dropped shot.
And Sandy, with most players able to get home in 2 here, that's almost like a couple of shots going there. But he's not far away, he's still within striking distance, but it's a bit more of a mental blow than anything.
Nick O'Hearn also for par at 8 and getting it and staying at 12 under. While the man who has a share of the lead, Aaron Badley, 2nd to the 7th.
Well, he's obviously hit a wonderful tee shot because he can get home with an iron, flying it in. But ideally wants to pitch it just on the front of the green like that. Takes all the pace off it. Eagle putt.
That could set the cat amongst the pigeons. Jeff Flanagan is watching Colin Montgomery. Still having a bit of a chat. What's he got? Just over 200 metres, Jeff?
Go.
202 metres, in fact, for Colin Montgomery.
I hesitate to say again, an ideal pin position for him front right the last time he airmailed the green. And that was unlucky. That pitched into the sharper upslope and came straight back. But not a bad place to come up from. Probably better there than pitching up on the green and shooting through the back.
Peter Lonard's made a bit of a run, but that's going to be a dropped shot. It's a wonderful day here in Sydney today from the Goodyear airship. I don't think you'll find too many better shots than that throughout the world, with the harbour on the right, and Steve Webster now goes into the record books. 63, the new course record, and they'll be loving it everywhere, including up there in the Goodyear airship. So a number of these players now starting on the 9 that really count. What about the holes to watch out for as we're coming home? Let's join Ian Baker Finch and find out what he thinks.
Sandy, we've already seen some great golf so far on the front nine, but let me tell you, here on the back nine at Royal Sydney is where this course really gets started. Three of my favourite holes here are 11, 17 and 18. Let's take a look at the 11th. The 11th hole at 420 metres is the longest and toughest par 4 at Royal Sydney. Bunker down the right-hand side is 240 metres to reach. Ideal drive is to draw it off that into the centre of the fairway. Avoid the water on the left at all costs. Second shot into a long, large green, guarded in front by two large bunkers and a little pot bunker in the back right. But the main feature about this hole is that steep drop off to the left. It's tough to get it up and down from there. The 17th hole is one of the toughest par 3s in golf. At 192 metres can be anywhere from a 4-iron to a driver. Three large bunkers on the right. Guard the right side well. Steep drop off to the left-hand side and over the back is a little swale that makes it tough to get it up and down. Tough green to putt. The 18th hole at only 368 metres is quite a short par 4 and birdieable under most circumstances. You hit down through a chute, paper barks right and left, but the trees on the left there have to be avoided at all costs. It's jail in there. As you make the turn, just a short iron in for your second shot. Bunkers right and left. But today with the hole location up in the back right, make this a very tough pin to get close to. Normally easy to make birdie, but these holes playing pretty tough today.
Comments there from Ian Baker-Finch, but there's drama here as Greg Norman is finding out on the back nine. What's happened, Pat?
Sandy, let's hope his challenge hasn't finished in a watery grave, because he's tugged his tee shot here. It's confirmed that it is in the water. He's going to have to take a drop from the hazard. He's going back along the line to give him a shot where he can clear the trees. So he'll be playing his third from here. So a mini disaster for Greg as he starts his back nine.
Well, you can see the water course there, and that's all it really is. It's a damp little canyon there, so a bit unlucky. Obviously a bad tee shot. He's 40 yards offline.
Comes back 26, Greg.
Long-time caddy, Tony Navarro, giving him his yardages.
No cameras, no plays.
Well, he's dropped well. I don't say anything's good about this. And he should be able to get there in 3.
Yes, Bruce, a shot of around 170 metres to the flag. Back into this slight breeze now. Five iron. Cleared the trees well. Not a bad recovery from there, is it?
It surely isn't, Pat. Wonderful shot, because he'd be a little bit irritated and may well yet get away with a 4. And what a lift that would be for him.
Colin Montgomery is playing the 7th. Needing it to go, and it does. Monty challenging Ahern and Baddeley.
Michael Long at the 8th. Brilliant short par 4, 276 metres. And a green of comparable size. And a lovely shot from Michael Long, for whom not a great deal has happened today. Neither he nor Paul McGinley. Just one drop shot.
Aaron Baddeley has a share of the lead at the moment, but this is an eagle putt. This to lead by 2.
Got it, Pat. He's got it, Sandy.
Aaron Baddeley is saying, catch me if you can. Woof. Again, over to you, Monty.
Monty would be enjoying the challenge, though.
In the meantime, Long for birdie at 8. Ian Baker-Finch has rejoined us after telling us the holes to watch out for. You've produced some drama. Well, the Moz on very smartly.
Maybe I should have included the 10th in that little thing, as Monty goes for birdie at the 7th. Well, he's answered Aaron Baddeley's eagle well, hasn't he, with holding that one for a 4.
Yeah, but he still trails by 2. Baddeley at 14 under. Ahern at 12 under. Montgomery also at 12 under.
Well, it's a very good... it really is a cracking match now. And as I say, at this stage, Montgomery won't be minding all this going on. He'd far rather be the hunter than the hunted. And he's played pretty well, just the one mistake.
Can it become a match play situation?
If they start to pull away, it's far too early. It would have to be over the final 3 or 4 holes. It could do, but it's a long way from that.
Usually you're fighting yourself and thinking about your own things more so than what the other player's doing at this stage.
Now, that may not be a bad place, just in the first cut of rough, and the great thing coming from there, he won't get as much spin on the ball, which might fizz it back off the surface. So that's actually probably as good as it gets.
It's just a short par 4, this one.
This and the first, I think, are wonderful holes. Modern designers tend not to include short par 4s in the mix of holes they build, and I think as long as you've got a small green up there, perhaps raised up a little bit, I think of the 3rd at Kingston Heath, and I think they're wonderful holes. They tease you. You try and butcher them, and they bite back.
I agree totally. I think at least 1 per course, and maybe even 1 per 9 is the order of the day.
That's a great tee shot from Montgomery here, right up the centre as usual. I don't think he's missed a fairway in 15 years. Birdie barrage from this group.
Aaron Baddeley enjoying lunch, but he's produced some wonderful golf so far, hasn't he? Worthy of a Hahn Premium shot, and certainly worthy of another look. An eagle on the 7th. And he goes 14 under par. A leader by 2.
We were on the practice fairway before he teed off this morning, and his mum brought a couple of egg sandwiches over to him to take out in the course.
McGinley. Par putt at 8.
There's no fireworks in that group. It's the Michael Long-McGinley pairing. They're both 1 over for the day.
Greg Norman after that majestic 5-iron from trouble at the 10th. This for a par 4.
So much drama unfolding here at Royal Sydney. Norman finding the water. Steve Webster rewriting the record books with a 63. And an 18-year-old amateur saying, I'm here, you catch me. Welcome back to a wonderful final day of the Holden Australian Open. Aaron Baddeley is our leader, and our leader by 2. And what an opportune moment to welcome back Jack Newton at a very dramatic stage of the championship, Jack.
Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, it's all happening, and this young fella is proving difficult to catch as we watch Nick Ahern putt for a par. Well, it burns the edge of the hole. It's a drop shot. He'll go back to 11 under. So Baddeley leads by 2 from Montgomery, and then Nick Ahern, Michael Long both at 11. Norman and O'Malley at 10. Well, Peter Thompson always used to say a big championship doesn't start until the last 9 on Sunday. And seemingly that's going to be the case for this Holden Australian Open.
Ahern down by 3.
Just 70 metres for Monty. Little sand wedge.
70 metres in, but thought with danger. He must be up. A great birdie chance from there. He must be up in this hole.
And now Greg Norman.
Well, only 1 drop shot there. Not too bad. Hit it in the water from the tee.
What for his drive?
Ahern also coming off a drop shot.
Yeah, Ahern down here with drive, just going a little bit left on the breeze. It's going to probably finish in the long rough on the left. Yeah, just going a little left, but good position to attack the flag from there, though.
Back at the 8th. Aaron Badley, who just pulled his pitch a little, not far from the hole, pretty quick down this slope.
Pretty good putt, really, from where he was. Huge swing on this green, the 8th. Elevated green, little short par 4 up the hill. One of those holes that you expect to make 3 on, but sometimes you're happy to make a 4.
Averaging 3.98 today, Ian. 12th most difficult hole on the course. 16 birdies, 11 bogeys, 2 others. So even though this hole not a long hole, it causes, as Ian said, it's a fair amount of problems for the golfers. Not probably as much today, but when there's a bit of breeze around, it's a really difficult pitch in here.
News from Sports Tab. Badley is now outright favourite ahead of this man. But he can get to within a shot of the 18-year-old.
Pretty quick putt down here. Kept going right. He's in a very good frame of mind, though. He's enjoyed himself all week. Told me this morning that next time he comes, he's going to try and come for 2 weeks and enjoy the country a little more than he's had the opportunity to this time.
Yeah, well, and I spoke to him at the Heineken a couple of years ago when he was out here, and he just loves coming out here and playing golf because he likes the golf courses. And also, I think he doesn't get hounded here like he probably gets in the United States or even Europe.
Yeah, very respectful galleries, majority of, certainly. In Australia, they know their golf.
Badley has this for par to remain at 14 under. Gee, he wastes no time, does he? He just goes.
Well, he's stuck to that pre-shot routine and the fact that he takes very little time, and he's seemingly enjoying himself. Was that a nervous smile or was it genuine, Ian?
I think it's a genuine one. I think he just loves being out there.
McGinley, birdie opportunity at 9. Needs it.
Ahern's got one.
This is Ahern.
132 for Nick Ahern. Wedge out of the light rough, but he's got a good line at the flag. Needs to get a birdie.
Sit in.
He's going a little bit left. His length's pretty good. A little long now.
It's just a good old-fashioned flyer.
Michael Long, a birdie opportunity also at 9.
And Michael Long is one of those players that can really roll the potato. Very, very good putter.
Ian, everyone talks about the tournament starting at the 54th hole, but when do the leaders, when do players really feel it? I mean, of course, we saw 94 Allenby and Ogle, that titanic struggle. Someone had to win it eventually, but when does the player inside really feel it?
Well, I think each player varies, Sandy, to be honest with you. I think Greg Norman is more expects to be there and probably gets a bit down on himself and a bit disheartened when he's not up there in the lead. Like right now, he'd be really trying to force a couple of expecting to make a couple of birdies to get back into the heat of it. Some of the other players sort of see themselves at top of the board with a couple to play and start thinking about their speech and the prize money check and their name on the cup, and that's when it can all come undone. That's
down it goes.
Down that bank. Boy, how many times we've seen players rolling down there.
It's just so hard, Ian, on that hole. I always reckon to aim far enough to the right. because you know if you miss it to the right, you've got no chance.
Exactly.
McGinley for par on 9.
Michael Long here with just a tap in. He's only 3 back, with the back 9 still to be played. And as Bruce said earlier, sometimes that's not a bad position to be in. 9 holes to go, 2 or 3 out of the lead. You sort of, the heat of battle really hasn't got to you quite yet. Always wears red socks, if ever you notice that. He does that purposely. It's not that he got dressed in the dark.
Back with our leader.
That's 2 iron for Aaron here at 9, and it's pretty safely in the fairway. A little left, but pretty good.
I think he might be blocked out there a little bit with that overhanging pine.
Well, let's have a look at the 9th. This par 4, Jack, of 328 metres.
Yeah, it's a short par 4, Stanley, but it's I think one of the prettiest holes on the golf course. It sets up well. Most of the players don't take a driver. It's a blind tee shot, as you can see, but the real trap is that up where it narrows down, where you'd hit your driver, it's just not worth it to take the driver from the tee. But this is the overhanging branch that I think Aaron Baddeley's going to have a problem with, that tree on the left. And then a long, narrow gutted green, 35 metres long, with the big traps both left and right. And the pin today, I can tell you, cut 28 metres on and 8 from the left. So really, you want to be up the right side of the fairway, give yourself the best angle at the flag. Averaging 4.2 today, I'd suggest largely because the breeze from the east is into the players' faces here, whereas it's not a long hole, as I said, just 328 metres. Someone's holed their second, 2 birdies and 18 others. But all in all, it's played its most difficult all week today.
Saw Norman's ball drift on down into this valley, as so many others have. So now playing his 3rd shot here at the 11th.
Not so difficult today because the flag's cut on the other side of the green. You should be able to pitch this up nice and close. Little spin on it. Watch for it on the second bounce.
And back into the breeze too, Ian, as you can see that flag helping him get the spin on it. Great shot from Norman. Sandy, I'd like to make a comment about the amateurs who are playing this week. Adam Groom, Brad Lamb, Scott Gardner, Brett Rumford, along with Aaron Baddeley. They've all played sensational golf, and I think that's a great testament to the standard of golf here as we watch Nick O'Hearn's putt for a birdie from long range. At 10, remember he was in the left-hand rough, back of the green.
Yeah, Brett Rumford and Scott Gardner are the 2 closest, chasing Baddeley home. As Ahern remains 1 under after 10 today and 11 under for the championship. Best completed scores: Stewart Thompson a 68, David Branston a 68, Jean Vandervelde a 69 today, Craig Warren a 69, Steve Webster, no doubt still floating, a new course record, 63. They are the only players who've completed their 4th round who have broken 70. And at the moment, no one is able to catch or close the gap on the 18-year-old Victorian amateur Aaron Baddeley. The Stonehaven Cup awaits.